My wife told me she didn't love me anymore over chicken parm in a packed Hoboken restaurant. Halfway through her confession, her eyes snagged on the front door, because the man she'd chosen walked in with his own wife. The place was loud in that cozy way. Forks clinking, glasses tapping, somebody laughing too hard at the bar like life was easy. Red sauce in the air. Bread on the table that kept showing up like a bribe. Rachel sat across from me with her hands folded like she was in a meeting. Same wedding ring, same face, but her eyes had already moved out. I was telling her about my week. 2 projects on fire, 1 vendor lying through their teeth when she cut in. "Grant," she said, and my name sounded formal. "I need to be honest." I knew that tone. HR tone. End of contract tone. She didn't look down. She didn't blink. She stared right through me like I was a wall she'd already measured for demolition. "I don't love you anymore." It hit my chest first, like the air got yanked out and refused to come back. My body went cold in slow motion. I kept my face steady because the table behind us was celebrating something. Birthday candles, phone cameras, and no part of me was going to be entertained. I nodded once like she'd told me a schedule change. Rachel kept going, calm, and rehearsed. "I've tried. I've been unhappy for a long time. I didn't want to hurt you, but I can't keep living like this." I didn't move my hands. I didn't reach for the water. I watched her mouth shape the words and felt my mind trying to reject them like bad data. Then she said it. "I'm in love with someone else." The room kept spinning the same way it always did. Waiters weaving, laughter rising. A Sinatra cover coming through the speakers, while my world separated into a clean before and a dirty after. I didn't ask who. Not yet. I wasn't going to give her control of my breathing. Rachel inhaled like she'd trained for this. "I want this to be civil. I don't want a scene. I just..." Mid-sentence, her expression changed. Not guilt. Not sadness. Fear. Her eyes flicked past my shoulder, locked, and stayed locked. Her face tightened at the corners like she'd bitten down too hard. I turned my head slightly, just enough to see what she saw without making it obvious. The front door opened and let in a gust of December air. A man stepped inside, shook off his coat, and scanned the room like he belonged there. Mark Reynolds. I didn't know his name yet, but I knew his type. Clean haircut, expensive shoes, confidence that didn't come from character. And right behind him, holding her purse strapped like a lifeline, was a woman about Rachel's age with tired eyes and a careful smile. His wife. Rachel's hands didn't look folded anymore. They looked trapped. I faced her again, calm on the outside, and watched the truth walk toward our table. Before that restaurant, I would have told you I was a good husband. Not in a poetic way, in a working man way. My name's Grant Walker, middle-aged New Jersey commuter, IT project manager, the guy who gets up early, catches the train, fixes problems nobody thanks him for, and comes home with just enough energy to keep the lights on and the house from falling apart. I measured my life in handled responsibilities. Mortgage paid, cars inspected, emergency fund untouched, fridge full, a roof that didn't leak, a calendar that stayed under control because I made it stay under control. I didn't miss birthdays. I didn't cheat. I didn't come home drunk. I didn't put holes in walls. I didn't disappear. I thought that was the deal. Rachel was the opposite of me in the ways that looked good on paper and dangerous in real life. Charismatic. Creative director in Manhattan. Always moving, always chasing the next pitch, the next idea, the next room where people clapped when she spoke. She wore momentum like perfume. When we got married, I loved that about her. It made me feel like we were balanced. Me as the foundation, her as the spark. We built a Maplewood life that looked clean from the outside. Nice streets, trimmed hedges, neighbors who waved, holiday cards that didn't feel like lies when we mailed them. People said things like, "You two are solid." I believed them because the structure was solid. I built structures for a living. What I didn't understand, what I refused to understand, is that a marriage isn't just a structure. It's a living thing. You can't feed it with autopay and insurance premiums and expect it to stay warm. My love started turning into a checklist. Did I handle dinner? Did I fix the door? Did I make sure her car had gas? Did I listen long enough before I started solving? Did I say, "I love you," before I opened my laptop again? I did the motions. I did them well. That was my identity. Rachel wanted something else. I can say that now without bitterness, because it's just true. She wanted presence. She wanted to feel chosen in a way that didn't come with receipts. And I had a blind spot the size of the Hudson. I thought being steady was the same as being close. So when she got quiet, I assumed she was tired. When she got distant, I assumed work was heavy. When she stopped reaching for my hand in public, I told myself it was just years passing, adulthood settling in like dust. I didn't see the gap opening because I kept busy patching everything around it. Then one night in Hoboken, she sat across from me like a stranger, and the life I'd been maintaining like a server rack went dark with no warning. And the worst part? A piece of me still wanted to troubleshoot it. We weren't always like that. There was a version of us that felt untouchable, not because we were perfect, but because we were poor and close and we thought closeness meant safety. We got married small, a rented room, a handful of people, no big entrances, no dramatic vows. Just Rachel in a simple dress that made her look like she'd stepped out of sunlight, and me standing there with a cheap suit and a serious promise I meant with my whole chest. Back then, love was cheap pizza on the living room floor because we hadn't bought a table yet. It was IKEA boxes stacked like a fort and both of us pretending we knew what assembly required really meant. It was arguing over a bookshelf for 10 minutes, then laughing so hard we had to sit down. Rachel used to text me at work, "Hurry home." Not because she needed help, because she wanted me there. I took late shifts sometimes, extra hours, side contracts, not glamorous, just enough to keep us moving forward. When I walked in the door, she'd be barefoot in the kitchen, music on, talking fast about some idea she had, some campaign she wanted to pitch, some world she was sure we were about to enter. And I'd stand there, tired but proud, watching her because she made the future feel real. We used to talk in bed like it was our headquarters, about where we'd live one day, about kids one day, about how we weren't like other couples because we didn't take each other for granted. We said that it was a spell. We believed in effort. We believed in loyalty. We believed that if you were both trying, nothing could get in. And for a while it worked. The shift didn't come with sirens. It didn't show up wearing a name tag. It didn't kick the door in. It arrived quietly. A little less laughter. A little more screen time. Rachel's phone lights up later at night. My laptop opened sooner in the morning. I just slammed this week. That turned into a rhythm. I didn't mark it as a warning because there was no obvious crisis. No blow-up. No betrayal I could point to. Just the subtle feeling that the room got bigger between us. And neither of us said anything about it. I kept thinking closeness was something you earned once and then owned forever. I didn't know it was something you rent, month to month. And the bill always comes due. Rachel's career didn't drift. It accelerated. One promotion turned into another. One big pitch turned into a pipeline of them. Her name started showing up in places that made her sit a little straighter. Industry emails, invites, events in Manhattan she used to joke were for other people. And I did what I always did. I called it success. I told her I was proud. I meant it. I also told myself that if I was a strong enough husband, I wouldn't need anything from her except honesty and time when she had it. Time is what she stopped having. Dinners got pushed later and later until they weren't dinners anymore. Just me heating something up at 9:30 while a sitcom laughed in the background. I'd eat standing at the counter sometimes, like I was visiting my own house. Rachel would come in with city air on her, a coat that smelled like cold and someone else's perfume, talking fast about teams and deadlines and just one more week like this. Then she'd disappear into her phone while I pretended I didn't notice. First, it was small stuff. Her phone went face down when I walked into the room. The pause before she answered certain questions. The way she'd smile at messages and then tuck the smile away when she caught me looking. I told myself it was work. Creative people had different rhythms. I wasn't going to be the insecure guy counting minutes. But nights got stranger. She started sleeping closer to her side of the bed, like we'd drawn an invisible line. I'd wake up to the glow of her screen and the quiet tapping of her thumbs, and the house would feel too silent for two people. One Thursday, I came home with groceries and found her already dressed, lipstick done, hair set like she was going somewhere that mattered. "Team dinner," she said, grabbing her bag. Last minute. I held the plastic handles in my hands and watched her move past me like I was furniture. "Okay," I said. "Drive safe." She stopped at the door, turned, and looked at me for a second like she was trying to decide whether to say something true or something easy. She chose true. "I feel like we're just roommates, Grant." The words were simple. They weren't loud. They didn't need to be. My stomach sank like it had been waiting for that exact sentence. I didn't react the way a weaker version of me might have. No pleading. No raised voice. No dramatic, "What do you mean by that?" I just stared at her, still holding the groceries, and nodded once because I didn't trust my mouth. Rachel exhaled like she'd been carrying that line around all day. "I don't want to fight," she added. I don't know." Then she left. The door clicked shut. The house settled. The refrigerator hummed like it was the only thing alive. I put the groceries away alone, one item at a time, and for the first time in my life, the pride I'd been living on didn't keep me company. It just sat there useless while I ate in silence. She didn't start with secrecy. She started with a name. "Mark said the client hates the color palette. Mark thinks we can win it if we tighten the narrative. Mark's hilarious. You'd like him. Mark, Mark, Mark." At first I played the role I understood. Supportive husband. I asked the right questions. I nodded at the right moments. I made jokes about the famous Mark, like I didn't feel anything when she said it. But her tone was wrong. You can tell when someone is talking about a coworker versus talking about a person who lives in their head. The difference isn't volume. It's warm. It's how the name lands. Mark's name didn't land like work. It landed like a secret she enjoyed touching in public. I noticed it in a few moments. The way she'd say it while smiling, then catch herself. The way she'd bring him up when we weren't even talking about her job. The way she'd compare me to him without meaning to. How Mark gets it. How Mark has a mind like this. How Mark's always 2 steps ahead. I told myself I was being paranoid. Middle-aged guy threatened by a younger office star. Classic insecurity. I didn't want to be that man. So I chose denial the way some people choose whiskey. As a tool. The first rail crack happened on a Tuesday night. We were on the couch. I was half watching the news, half answering emails, trying to keep my life from spilling over the edges. Rachel was beside me, knees tucked under her, phone in her hand like it was a second heartbeat. Her screen lit up and, for a brief second, it faced up on the cushion between us. A message preview. Just enough. "Mark, I can't stop thinking about last night. No FYI, no quick question. Just a line that belonged to a different life." My eyes hit it and my body reacted before my brain could negotiate. A hot pulse behind my ribs, tightening in my throat. That cold, animal knowing that doesn't care about your pride. Rachel's hand moved fast, too fast. The phone flipped face down like it had burned her. She glanced at me with a casual expression she'd practiced, like I'd seen nothing. "Are you hungry?" she asked. I could order something. That's how she did it. Pivot. A soft reset. I stared at her. Could have asked right then. Could have said, "Who is Mark to you?" I could have forced the truth into the room where it couldn't hide. But I didn't, because asking would change everything. And a part of me, bigger than I want to admit, was still addicted to the idea that I was wrong. That it was a misunderstanding. That I could stay the man with the stable life and the paid bills and the marriage that looked solid from the outside. So I swallowed it. "Yeah," I said, voice steady. "Order whatever." Rachel smiled, relieved, and picked her phone back up like nothing happened. And that's the moment I understood something ugly about myself. I wasn't afraid of becoming suspicious. I was afraid of being right. After that message, my brain changed modes. Not angry, not dramatic, operational. I stopped arguing feelings because feelings were fog. I wanted facts. Facts didn't care how charming Rachel was. or how calm she sounded when she lied. We had a shared calendar. We had shared accounts. We had a life built on logistics, so I used the same tools that kept our house running to see what was really happening inside it. Patterns showed up fast when I stopped looking away. Team dinner on nights that didn't match anyone else's schedule. Client meeting that lined up with hotel charges in Manhattan. Uber receipts at weird hours. One recurring bar tab that kept landing on the same Thursday. I didn't confront her with any of it. Not yet. I wasn't trying to win an argument. I was trying to confirm reality. The overnight team trip was the one that changed everything. She left on a Wednesday morning with a carry-on and a bright, professional smile. Kissed my cheek like she was leaving for a conference. Told me she'd be back Thursday late. "Don't wait up," she said. I didn't. Thursday night she came in after midnight, quiet, moving like she didn't want to wake the house, even though the house was just me. She showered. She dropped her clothes straight into the laundry basket and slid into bed without a word. In the morning, after she left for the train, I did something I'd never done in our marriage. I looked, not through her phone, not through her email, just the laundry basket. Under her blouse and beneath a pair of black slacks was a men's dress shirt. Crisp, white, expensive. Not mine, not even close to my size. I held it up and stared at it like it might explain itself. She came home that night and I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse. I just set the shirt on the table between us like a document. "What's this?" I asked. Rachel barely glanced at it. That was the scary part. How quickly she decided what reality was allowed to exist. "Oh," she said, as casual as breathing. "Someone must have mixed laundry at the hotel. I grabbed the wrong thing. I'll return it." My gut rejected it instantly. Hotels don't mix your laundry and toss in a stranger's shirt like a complimentary mint. I watched her face while she spoke. No surprise, no concern. Just a smooth answer delivered with the confidence of someone used to not being questioned. I nodded once. "Okay," I said, because I wasn't looking for her explanation. I was watching how easily she served it. The humiliation got worse a few days later in a way I didn't control. I ran into one of her coworkers at a local coffee shop. Some guy I'd met once at a holiday party. He smiled like we were friends. "How's Rachel?" he asked. "Still working late with Mark all the time?" He chuckled like it was harmless office trivia. I didn't laugh. I felt my face stay steady while my insides went hard and cold. Because that's when it hit me. This wasn't just my suspicion anymore. Other people saw it. They talked about it out loud. And I'd been the only one in the dark on purpose. I didn't want to do it. Not because I was protecting Rachel. I was past that. I didn't want to do it because calling another man's wife felt like stepping into a room you can't leave without something breaking. It also felt like weakness, like I needed help holding up my own spine. But facts kept stacking, and I was done living on hope. I found her name the boring way. A quick search, a company bio, a charity board listing. Emily Reynolds. A number attached to it. I stared at the phone for a full minute before I hit the phone. She answered on the third ring. "Hello." I kept my voice low, controlled. "Emily Reynolds?" A pause. "Yes. My name is Grant Walker." Another beat. "I think our spouses may be involved." Silence so clean it answered me before she ever spoke. Then she exhaled sharp, like she'd been holding her breath for months. "Who is your wife?" "Rachel Walker." That did it. No denial. No confusion. Just the sound a person makes when a painful theory turns into a confirmed diagnosis. "I knew," she said quietly. "I didn't know. I knew." I sat down at my kitchen table like my legs finally accepted reality. "I'm not calling to yell," I said. "I'm not calling for drama. I'm calling because I need to know what's real." Emily's voice stayed steady, but it had weight now. "How long?" "I don't know," I told her. "But I can give you dates, charges, patterns." "Okay," she said. "Me too." So we did it like adults who didn't have the energy for theater. We compared timelines. Her client dinners lined up with Rachel's. Her late-night brainstorms matched my empty house. One hotel name came up twice. Once from my credit card statement, once from her husband's email confirmation she'd found and tried not to interpret. When the same lie shows up in two homes, it stops being a suspicion. It becomes a schedule. At one point, Emily went quiet again. "Are you still there?" I asked. "Yeah," she said. "I'm just hearing it out loud. I get it. We didn't comfort each other. Not like that. This wasn't intimacy. It was a shared clarity. Two people staring at the same wreck from different sides of the road." Then Emily said, "If we confront them separately, they'll spin it." I looked at the shirt on the back of a chair like it was still sitting in my house, smirking. "Yeah," I said. "They'll rewrite it until we doubt ourselves." "So what do we do?" she asked. I thought about Rachel's calm voice, her rehearsed lines, the way she could make anything sound reasonable if you let her hold the microphone. "We need one moment," I said. "One undeniable moment neither of them can talk their way out of." Emily didn't hesitate. Agreed. The plan didn't come from rage. Came from discipline. No threats. No texts. No emotional confrontations they could call crazy. Just timing. Witness. Proof. Emily's voice hardened in a way I respected. "Tell me the next time she says, 'dinner.'" I stared out the kitchen window at my quiet street. "I will," I said. "And when it happens, we do it clean." "Clean," she repeated. We hung up, and the house felt different. Not warmer, not better, but real. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't alone with the truth. The days leading to Friday moved like weather you can smell coming. I still did my job. I still caught the train. I still answered emails and ran meetings and acted like a man whose life wasn't splitting down the middle. That's the thing about being responsible. Your habits don't stop just because your heart wants to. But something had changed in me. On the platform in Maplewood, surrounded by commuters staring at their phones, I made myself a promise. No begging, no yelling, no losing my dignity in public. Whatever happened, I was going to be the man I respected when I looked back on it. Rachel was smooth, too smooth. Wednesday night she mentioned Hoboken like it was casual. "We should go out," she said, leaning against the counter. "Just us. There's that Italian place you like on the waterfront." I looked at her and felt the choreography under the words. "What brought that on?" I asked. She shrugged. "Light. We've been tense. I thought it would be good to talk somewhere neutral." Neutral. Like she wasn't planning to end a marriage. I nodded. "Sure." Her shoulders loosened in relief so fast it was almost disrespectful. That night, I texted Emily one sentence. Friday. Hoboken. Italian place. Waterfront. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Reappeared. Then Mark just said client dinner Friday. Time? Rachel had already told me. 7:30. I sent it. Emily replied, "We'll be there. I'll walk in with him. You stay calm." That was the whole thing. No long speeches. No revenge fantasy. Just a trap built out of their own lies. Thursday, Rachel was extra polite. Like she was trying to leave no fingerprints. She asked about my day. She laughed at a joke that wasn't funny. She touched my arm once in the hallway like a reminder that she still knew how. It didn't work. It just made me feel like I'd been living with a stranger who was good at impressions. Friday came. I left work early and took the path to Hoboken with a heaviness that didn't show on my face. The city slid past the windows. Graffiti, brick, steel. And I sat there upright, hands still, breathing slow like I was walking into a job interview. The restaurant had big windows facing the Hudson. From the table they gave us, you could see the water, the skyline, the boats moving like they had somewhere better to be. I arrived early on purpose. I wanted to be seated first. I wanted to pick the angle. I wanted the door in my line of sight. Control was the only thing I still owned. I sat alone with a glass of water and watched the room fill in. Couples leaning close. Friends shouting over each other. A family with a toddler who kept dropping a spoon and laughing like it was the funniest thing on earth. Normal life. I checked my phone once. Nothing from Emily, which was good. The less communication, the less risk. I set the phone down and looked at the door again. My wife was going to walk in and try to break me politely. Another man was going to walk in thinking he was invisible. and I was going to sit there steady while my life arrived in pieces. Rachel came in right on time. She smiled like it was date night, kissed my cheek, sat across from me and adjusted her napkin with careful hands. If you didn't know better, you'd think we were celebrating something. She ordered wine. I didn't touch it. For a few minutes she talked about nothing. Traffic, a client, a new restaurant in the city, like she needed a runway before takeoff. Then she set her glass down and looked me straight in the eye. "Grant," she said, soft and steady. "I don't think this is working anymore." There it was, delivered like a prepared statement. She said she hadn't been happy, that she'd tried, that she didn't want to hurt me, that she wanted it to be civil, that we could do this respectfully. I listened without interrupting. Not because I accepted it, because I refused to give her an emotional scene she could later reframe as my failure. Then she said the part she'd been building toward. "I'm in love with someone else." I nodded once, slow. "Okay." Rachel blinked, thrown off by how little I gave her. She kept talking anyway. "I didn't plan for it. It just happened. I'm not proud of it, but it's real. And I can't keep pretending. I didn't ask who. I didn't need to." My eyes stayed on the door, and then Rachel's face changed again. Mid-sentence, like the power went out behind her eyes. She saw them. Mark Reynolds walked in first, confident, scanning like he owned the air. Emily was beside him, composed in a way that wasn't natural. It was chosen. Her mouth was set. Her eyes were clear. Mark's gaze flicked around, landed on Rachel, and for a fraction of a second the mask slipped. Just a crack. Enough. Rachel's composure shattered. She straightened too fast. Her hand went toward her phone, then stopped like she remembered she was in public. Emily didn't hesitate. She walked straight to them. "Mark," she said. Not loud, not a scream, just a name that landed like a verdict. Mark froze. His smile tried to form and died halfway. Emily's eyes moved to Rachel. "So this is her." Rachel's lips parted. Nothing came out. Mark tried to grab control. He always had. "Emily, this isn't." "Don't," Emily said, and the word cut clean. The restaurant didn't go silent, but the air around us changed. People sensed it. Heads turned. Forks slowed. That instinct humans have for a collapse. Rachel finally looked at me, panic bright in her face, like I was supposed to save her from the consequences of her own choices. I didn't. I stayed seated, calm, still. I let her sit inside what she'd built. Mark's eyes found mine across the room for a second. Assessment, threat, shame. I gave him nothing, not a glare, not a flinch. I didn't make him important enough for my anger. Rachel reached for me under the table. Her fingers grazed my knee like a plea. I stood up, not fast, not dramatic, just finished. I pulled my wallet out, placed cash on the table, enough to cover whatever had been ordered and then some. Because that's who I am. I close accounts clean. Rachel whispered, "Grant, please." I leaned in just enough that only she could hear. "You chose this," I said. "Now you can carry it." Then I walked out. Outside. The cold hit my face and felt honest. I stood by the water for a second, breathing, watching the skyline like it had nothing to do with me. My chest hurt, but my mind was clear. Rachel showed up later, of course. Not that night, later. Tears. Regret. That cracked voice she never used on clients. She said she'd made a mistake. She said it got away from her. She said she still cared about me. I listened the same way I listened in the restaurant. Steady, not cruel, not weak. "I'm not rebuilding what you burned," I told her. The divorce wasn't loud. It was paperwork and long silences. The house went on the market. I moved into a smaller place where the rooms didn't echo with a person who wasn't there. I changed jobs, not because I had to, but because I needed a clean environment, a fresh set of problems that didn't smell like her perfume. Life got quieter, and in that quiet, something important happened. I stopped asking why she did it. I started asking why I ignored the data for so long. Why I accepted a marriage that ran on logistics and denial. Why I called stability love and thought that would be enough forever. The answer didn't make me softer. It made me sharper. Now I trust patterns. I trust my gut when it speaks. I don't beg for a place in someone else's life. Some people call that bitterness. I call it clarity.
Subscribe and stay one step ahead of cheaters. And trust me, the next story makes this one look like a fairy tale.